Hello, I'm Sebastian. Welcome to 9R Trees podcast. Today, I will summarize and review the book. Understanding Options by Michael Sincere is a practical guide designed to help everyday investors make sense of options trading without getting lost in jargon. Known for translating market concepts into straightforward language, Sincere focuses on the real-world mechanics of calls and puts, how options are priced, and why risk management matters more than flashy wins. The book frames options as flexible tools that can be used in different ways, from conservative approaches like generating income to more aggressive speculation that requires strict discipline. Rather than presenting options as a shortcut to wealth, it emphasizes planning, position sizing, and knowing what can go wrong before entering a trade. Readers can expect a step-by-step explanation of core strategies, the role of time and volatility, and the decision points that separate informed trades from gambling. It is especially useful for people who already trade stocks and want a structured, understandable entry into options. I will give you key takeaways from this book. Firstly, options basics without the noise. A major focus of the book is building a clean mental model of what options are and how they behave. It clarifies the difference between calls and puts, what it means to buy versus sell an option, and how the contract structure influences both potential reward and risk. Instead of treating options as mysterious instruments, the discussion frames them as agreements tied to an underlying stock or ETF, with defined terms such as strike price and expiration. The book also helps readers understand why options move differently from the underlying asset, and why small price changes can have outsized effects on an option premium. You get practical context for intrinsic value and time value, along with a clearer sense of why time decay matters to option buyers and can benefit option sellers. This foundation is important because many beginner mistakes come from misunderstanding what you actually own, what can expire worthless, and how your outcome changes as the clock ticks. The emphasis is on comprehension first, so later strategies are easier to evaluate logically rather than emotionally. Secondly, pricing drivers, time, volatility, and probability. The book highlights the key forces that shape option prices and why traders need to respect them. Time to expiration affects premium in predictable ways, and understanding time decay helps readers see why holding an option too long can work against them even if the stock is not moving much. Volatility is treated as a central driver that can inflate or deflate premiums, influencing whether options are relatively expensive or cheap. This is crucial for deciding when strategies like buying premium or selling premium make more sense. The book also introduces the idea that options are probability-based instruments, meaning that outcomes are not just about being right on direction, but also about being right on timing and magnitude. That perspective encourages readers to think in terms of likelihood and payoff rather than certainty. By connecting the pricing drivers to practical trade planning, it becomes easier to answer questions like why an option can lose value when the stock price rises, or why a quiet market can drain premiums. The overall message is to interpret option prices as information about market expectations and risk, not as random numbers. Thirdly, core strategies. From hedging to income, a practical guide to options has to address what traders actually do with them, and this book centers on the commonly used strategies that match real investor goals. It explains how options can hedge stock positions, potentially reducing downside risk or giving investors a defined risk way to express a bearish or bullish view. It also discusses how some traders use options to generate income, often by selling options in a controlled manner while accepting the trade-offs involved, such as capped upside or assignment risk. The strategies are typically presented as building blocks, so readers can compare the purpose of each approach, the risk profile, and the conditions where it tends to perform better or worse. Importantly, the book reinforces that every strategy has a cost, whether that is paying premium, limiting gains, or taking on obligations when selling options. By emphasizing fit, the content helps readers avoid the common trap of copying complex trades without understanding their exposure. The result is a more decision-focused view. Choose a strategy based on objective, time frame, and risk tolerance, then structure it to reflect that plan. Fourthly, risk management and trade discipline. Risk management is treated as the difference between sustainable trading and occasional luck. The book stresses that options can magnify both gains and losses, so traders need a clear plan for position sizing, maximum loss, and exit rules before entering a trade. It explains why defined risk setups can be appealing for beginners and why uncontrolled leverage can quickly compound mistakes. Readers are encouraged to think about worst-case scenarios such as rapid price moves, volatility shifts, and expiration-related surprises. Another key theme is discipline, avoiding impulsive trades, resisting the urge to double down, and understanding that being wrong is part of the process. The book also frames risk management as psychological protection, because a trader who risks too much becomes emotionally reactive and more likely to break rules. By focusing on repeatable processes, the content aims to help readers treat options as structured decisions rather than entertainment. This includes paying attention to liquidity, spreads, and the practical realities of execution, since poor fills and thinly traded contracts can quietly undermine an otherwise good idea. Lastly, building a practical options learning plan. Beyond explaining concepts and strategies, the book implicitly encourages a method for learning options that reduces overwhelm. It promotes starting with the basics, then practicing with simple trades, and only later adding complexity once the foundational mechanics are second nature. A key part of this approach is aligning learning with personal goals. A long-term investor may focus on hedging and conservative income tactics, while an active trader may explore directional trades with strict risk limits. The book's practical tone supports the idea of preparation, including using broker tools, understanding contract specs, and focusing on a small set of underlyings to develop familiarity. It also pushes readers to evaluate trades after the fact, treating outcomes as feedback rather than as proof of skill or failure. This helps build consistency and reduces the tendency to chase strategies that recently worked for someone else. By emphasizing process and gradual progression, the book supports safer experimentation and better retention. The overall takeaway is that options proficiency comes from structured repetition and risk awareness, not from finding a perfect indicator or a single winning strategy. In conclusion, this book is best for stock investors and newer traders who want to understand options from the ground up, as well as intermediate traders who have placed a few contracts but still feel uncertain about pricing, risk, and strategy selection. If you learn well from plain language, real-world framing, and a focus on practical decision-making, it can serve as a reliable starting point or refresher. The biggest life benefit is confidence rooted in clarity. You learn how options work, why premiums change, and how to match a strategy to a goal such as hedging, income, or directional trading. That reduces costly trial and error and can help you avoid the emotional trading that comes from not knowing your true exposure. Compared with many options, books that lean heavily into complex math or advanced spreads, this one stands out for accessibility and emphasis on disciplined risk management. It treats options as tools, not lottery tickets, which is a valuable mindset shift. If you want a readable, structured introduction that helps you trade more thoughtfully and manage risk more intelligently, it is a worthwhile purchase in a crowded category. If you would like to support Michael Sincere, you can buy the book through the Amazon link I've provided in the podcast description. After reading the book, please let me know what you think and share your thoughts. See you around.